Hey everybody, welcome to tutorial 15. So this is video 15 of the custom Conan Exiles mod tutorial series. And today we're going to cover some more sculpting foliage, but the surprise is I'm going to show you how to kind of create your own custom foliage from something from the marketplace, something like that. So to kind of help you out. And also I'm going to teach you a little bit about some textures and stuff like that. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and kind of get into this and jump into it. So give me 1 second here and we'll transfer over to the desktop. Okay, we're on the desktop. All right. So lo and behold, before you, you obviously see my levels open. But what I want you to do is I want you to quickly take a look at the 6 different foliages sitting here, which are coral. Now, from a distance, they all look the same, do they not? So look very closely. And I'll kind of pan around a little bit so you kind of get an idea. Okay, and believe it or not, they're actually different. But from a distance, you can't really tell. So let me go ahead and get close up here and I'll show you. So I want you to take a very close look at the coral here. And notice how they're nice and shiny. They're wet because they're going to be underwater, obviously. But then on this next set of coral, what I want you to do is take a quick look. And notice the difference. Okay, so again, okay, so they are different, but from a distance, they look the same. Now, what's different about them is that these coral here are using 1024 by 1024 textures. All right, they're a lower resolution texture, so they don't have as much detail. These coral over here are using 4K textures. These are high detail. Now, these look great, don't they? They look wonderful. Oh, you'd love to have this nice detail. However, there's a problem with using this high detail. And I'll kind of go over that right now and kind of explain that to you. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring up my chart. All right, and so what I'm going to explain to you is that the file sizes for 4K textures versus 1024 by 2048 and 4K, which is 64 megabytes. So your 1024 are about 2 to 3 megabytes in size. Your 2048 by 2048, your medium quality textures, they're 32, which is what the terrain is using right now. And Funcom used to use 4K on the terrain, but they've reduced it to help keep performance for PlayStations, etc., Xbox, and for PCs. Now, high quality 4K, certain items in Conan are 4K, but they require 64 megabytes for one texture. Okay, that is one texture. Now, you got to remember your max mod size is 2 gigabytes. Now, these 64 megabytes, so 4 of those texture files, and sometimes these materials take 5 to 6, you're looking at a lot of space being taken up by 64 megabytes. Okay, so the great thing about 2 to 3 megabytes, they're low quality but great performance because it doesn't take so much rendering power. 32 megabytes, they're high performance, they're medium quality visually. 64 megabytes, 4K textures, high quality, however, low to medium performance based on the rendering video card, etc. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're deciding to use custom materials. All right, so once again, I'm going to kind of show you these real quick. So these being underwater, these coral, I really don't care about the detail because as the player, you're not going to swim up there and go, oh, hey, Snow Hunter, what textures did you use? Unless you're really looking to, be a pain in the ass, by all means. But see, it's nice to have this great detail if you're building a game that you want to use, high detail textures. However, the problem with modding is the fact that you're limited to the space that the mod can hold. Now, like I said, there's mod splitting programs out there. We're not going to cover those. We're just going to cover the facts here to help you understand to build your basic map. And then if you get confident and you want to look into those mod splitting tools, by all means, you can play with 4K textures all day if you want to and create 7,000 different mod files to load up to a server just so you can run your map. And literally, I I can't remember. I think it's called the Sapphire map. I think, or they had like 7 mod files just to run their map because of the high quality textures and the detail and the different biomes they were trying to create. Okay, so now the other part of this tutorial is I was telling you how we are going to go ahead and create custom foliage. Okay, but before I do that, what I want to do is I want to quickly show you how to create the materials. Now these are off the marketplace. Now I'm going to go ahead and open the marketplace. Some of you guys know what the marketplace is. This is where your mod program, Conan Exiles, is launched from in your regular library here. Or sorry, this is my library, but in the regular library, like your game library, your dev kit library is over here. Now the Epic launcher has been really bogged down lately, and they're getting ready to move to Sketchfab here pretty soon. So here's your Conan Exiles dev kit. All right, so what you can do is you go to your Unreal Engine, go to the marketplace, and here is where you can search for different things. So like, for instance, let's just do landscape. Okay, and let's go ahead and let's use the filter, and let's go 415, and let's do let's see, 414, 413, 412, 411, 410, 49. And the reason why I'm getting the older versions of the engine here is so you can go through here and you can look for stuff that will actually work for the dev kit. You know, so landscape materials that if you want to customly import or purchase, you can purchase them for your mod and use them in your mod. Okay, so here's an example of a material being used for a tropical island. You know, so different landscapes that you can look at, but make sure you're actually finding landscape materials and not just backgrounds. Like people are selling background pictures, and that's all they are. They're pictures. Make sure you know it's a landscape material, and it's very limited now because nobody builds anything anymore for the Unreal Engine 4 versions anymore. It seems like it's mostly all being built for 5. So right here, we're lucky if people are still keeping the materials for the older engine versions. Okay. So keep that in mind, okay? All right, so now, what I have in my library, like I said, is I got that coral pack, and the corals I'm using is, I believe it's this coral pack here. I think it is. And it looks pretty. It's beautiful. Yeah, this is it right here. Very nice looking. Fancy. It's got some fancy little material setups and stuff like that, okay? And it's got some emissives and things like that, so it looks really pretty, very nice and beautiful. Okay. All right. So I'm using lower textures though, so they're not looking spiffy like that, but they're good enough for water. So if I take this coral, and I quickly want to show you the difference too while I was thinking about it. I wanted to show you the example of what these would look like underwater together. Okay. To give you an idea, because this will help you determine, do you want to use the lower resolution textures, and I'm going to show you how you do that. So I'm going to go ahead and put these two underwater. And the reason why I'm using the lower quality texture too is because these are going to be underwater, and really the player's not going to take that much time to go study the textures. Okay, so with the water kind of blurring the post process, it blurs the detail of the texture a little bit. So it doesn't really matter to me. I want to save performance for the players on my map. So think about that too, because your players are going to try to use these maps, and that you want them to be able to run your map. You don't want to build your map and have it crash people's machines and they can't play on your map. What's the point? You just waste all that time building a map. Okay, so here's the difference of what these both look like underwater. So it really is not too crazy, especially from a distance. You can't really tell. And most players are not going to go up there, like I said, and dig to go, hey, you got 4K textures in here, bro? Unless they're being a pain in the ass. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete these off here. And let's go ahead and quickly, before I get into the foliage aspect, let's go ahead and let me show you how we're going to convert and lower the 4K texture. So how did I do this? So let's go ahead and I'll show you how to do that and kind of get you started here. All right, so I got my materials built here, but what we need to do is we need to actually build the textures and import them. Now I got the 4K textures in here already, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you again how I did this. So I'm going to go ahead, and I can't delete these actually because I don't want to have a bunch of errors pop up. So what I'm going to do is just going to create a new folder real quick in here. And I'm going to call it tutorial, 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 tutorial. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and right click. I'm going to go ahead and import, just like we did with the FBX, the custom models. I'm going to go to my desktop because that's where I have them. And I'm going to go to my Coral folder. I believe it was this Coral folder. And go to games. And I'm going to go to Corals again and textures again because this is where I put the 4K textures at. Okay. And this is where how you would import the textures. Okay. But I don't want to import them right now, but I want to show you how you would do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this folder here and I'm going to go to my desktop and minimize this. And I'm going to go to that Coral folder, game, corals, textures. Now, you want to use a lower quality texture, right? Say you want to save performance in your mod. So what you're going to do is you're going to go here and you remember the program I told you about GIMP? Let's go ahead and we're going to open it with GIMP. All right. And you just right click on the image. All right. And I'm going to bring GIMP over here because it opened on the wrong monitor. All right. So here's the 4K texture. They look really stunning close up. But we want to rescale it to 1024 by 1024. So what you do is you right click, go to image, and you're going to go to scale image. And right here, notice the 4K. This is 4K texture size, 4096 by 4096. All right, and what I'm going to do, instead of doing the 1024, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 2048. Let's do that instead. Okay, and when I hit the first top number, 2048, the bottom number is going to change for me. I'm going to hit the button scale. All right, and it's going to convert it and scale it to basically 2K texture. We'll say 2K. So 2048 by 2048. I'm going to right click on it, file, and export as, and I'm going to save it over top of it, the original, which is, if you can see here, you can see it's 67.1 megabytes, the original. All right, and I'm going to export on top of it, and I'm going to replace it. Okay, and hit export. And it's going to say bottom left, just hit export, you'll be fine. Okay, I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go to the next texture, do the exact same thing, open it with GIMP. All right, right click, go to image, go to scale image, and I'm going to do 2048. Hit enter, scale it, convert it, right click, file, export as, the second image, which is the gloss, export it. And notice that the 2K texture, when I export, and I'll show you one more time just in case, minimize that, go to our next texture, and I'm going to show you what these 2048s on this one are actually sizing out to be. Okay, which is about 32 megabytes. I said some of them can be 14, 15, depending on how much texture data there is. So we're going to open with GIMP, right click, image, scale the image, 2048 by 2048, hit scale, right click, file, export as. We're going to save it as the third image. Now I'm going to stop right here so you can see. So if you look right here, the first one turned out to be 14.3 megabytes in size. So it's actually smaller than 32, luckily. And then our other coral image is 13. So this is 4 images to make up one coral material. All right, so now you can see how it's racking up. So we already got 32 megabytes in just 2 files, basically, almost. So that's pretty crazy, isn't it? All right, so our third image, export, replace, export it. Okay, minimize this. Go to our fourth texture, open with GIMP, right click, scale it, 2048, scale it, right click, file, export as, and right over top of itself, and replace it. So right now, with everything that GIMP is showing us, it looks like we got about 80 megabytes in 4 textures, which is almost one 4K texture. Okay, so that goes to tell you how big our mod is going to bloat up in a sense. Okay, so here are our textures. So now we're going to go back to our dev kit. I'm at my folder, all right, which is my tutorial folder I created. Now we're going to go ahead and import those textures. So we're going to go back to the desktop. Oops, not that. We're going to go to the desktop. Find my desktop. Desktop. All right, go down to my folder where it says Coral and Game and Corals and Textures. These are our textures right here. Now these are TGAs, so you export the textures, whatever file format, and keep them as that. I'm going to hit open. We're going to import them. Okay, so there's our textures. Awesome. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit Save All on our content browser. I'm keeping my content browser down here and snapped in the window because I've been having issues with my windows when I open or pull the layout apart and I go to open up a static mesh. The window keeps opening up the side off the monitor, and Windows 11's giving me a hard time right now. I'm just so ticked off about that right now. It's a pain in my ass. Okay, so now let's go to, now I created a folder called a materials folder. So if you go to your custom content folder, make sure you create a folder for your mesh, your custom mesh. So these are my meshes, so my corals. And then I created a folder for textures and materials. Okay, ignore my textures 4K and my tutorial here, but what you want to do is you want to import your textures into the textures folder so you know where they're located, and then your materials folder. So I'm going to open up my materials folder, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in here and I'm going to go material. Okay, and I'm going to name this material MI underscore coral purple, PURPL purple 2K. All right, so I know that's the 2K. I'm going to open it up. Okay, and what I'm going to also show you too is you can go up here to go to Windows and go to Content Browser and open up a second content browser. And I'm going to do it this way. That way I can do this and show you. So I'm going to go over here to Textures, or Tutorial, sorry, my tutorial folder, which has my textures. I'm going to hold down Control and highlight all four. I'm going to drag them on top of this material that I created, and it's going to drop them in. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and expand this window so I can see better. All right, and this is what we call the diffuse. All right, and this is going to be our rough. This is going to be the metallic, I believe, and this is going to be our normal. Okay, so now what we want to do, and I want to double check myself and make sure I'm plugging this correctly. So I'm going to go into here, materials. Now this is the 427 version of the dev kit. Not the dev kit, sorry, the Unreal Engine, my bad. Unreal Engine, don't mistake me. I'm going to open up Corals real quick, and I want to look at this to make sure that I'm setting this up right. So this was the metallics, and then this one plugs into the, I want to make sure this goes into the, okay, this goes into the emissives. Now, we can rebuild this material like this, okay? I'm not going to go through all this stuff, but you can basically copycat all these setups. Now the only thing I might copycat and try to copycat later is this here. All right, but that's a little bit crazy, but this is what materials can get into, some crazy nodes, the gloss strength, etc. All right, I'm just going to show you basic material building, but you can replicate this by looking at these nodes. You can replicate this on your material. I just wanted to make sure that I'm correct on my diffuse. Okay. And this rate is here as a parameter, okay, and different things. So you can read up on materials, but I'm not going to go through this. So I know this black and white here is roughness. This one is metallic, and then this one is emissive to give those nice glows. And I might mess with this here shortly in a second. But for now, I'm just going to show you that. All right, so back to our material in our dev kit. All right, so this would go to the diffuse base color. That's what they usually call the diffuse color, or the diffuse texture. It's actually the base color texture. I know it's really strange, but they call it the diffuse. Strange name. All right, and then this is going to be our metallic. All right, and this also can plug into roughness. And you can do those multiples and stuff, but I'm not going to mess with that right now. I just want to give you basic ideas on how you can plug in materials. Now this would go to the emissive. Okay. So we can plug that into the emissive. And then this goes to the normal. All right, these blue ones like this, that's the normal. And what that does, that creates the bumpiness, or the texture looks like it's got bumpies or grooves or crevices and cracks in it. This is what the normal does. The normal gives it that kind of that sense of surface area or surface texture differentials. Okay, and I'm going to hit apply. And really quickly, I got to fix myself on one of my materials. I'm going to fix my 4K material, because I plugged this one in roughness, and I should have plugged it into emissive and this one into roughness. That's where I screwed up on. So I'm going to apply and save that. And I'm going to fix my other one, because the reason why I'm doing that really quickly is because I want to show you the difference between these static meshes, and let you see the quality. So I want to make sure I got the quality set right. Okay, so now we created our 2K material. What we want to do now, though, is we can't just put this material on the mesh. What we want to do is we want to create an instance. And I tried to explain this before, and you might remember it from one of our tutorials, or I haven't mentioned it. But what an instance does is we want to reduce the draw calls. Now you're like, Snow, what's draw calls? Draw calls is what the CPU does and the GPU does when it renders textures and materials. We don't want to have, for an instance, if you look at this, we have on the scene right now, in our map, we have the sand, we have the grass, we have the water, okay, we have the palm tree material, the palm trunk, and we have the aloe, top, and also we have the jungle bush here, we have this bush here, this aloe, we have this, or not that bush, but this bush. Now, what is that? How many things did I just name? Probably about 8 to 9 to 10. So 10 different materials already. So what your GPU is trying to draw is what we call draw calls. So it's drawing 10 different materials. Now, with our materials, what we do is we don't want draw calls. If we get too many draw calls, your frame rates, your FPS drops down. So what we want to do is make sure we reduce that. So what we're going to do is go to my Coral static meshes, right? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click my static meshes here, these three. I'm going to right click on them. I'm going to duplicate them. And I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to rename it. Rename this one. And I'm going to call this one 2K. Okay. I'm just going to put a 2K. That was easy. And I'm going to do the same for this one. Rename. Oops. 2K. That way I can put the 2K material on it, because what I want to do is I want to show you the difference of all three different materials and textures. Okay, and so like I said, we're trying to reduce draw calls, right? So now with this scene, so when I put down this coral, okay, and the 2K, and then the 4K, and then I'm going to do 2Ks, and then I'm going to do our 4Ks here. Okay, and I got them lined up. So right there, believe it or not, we have 9 different draw calls because of the different textures and materials. Okay, because we're using the 1024, we're using the 2048, and the 4K textures. So we're getting basically, 3 different draw calls there. Not 9, 3 different draw calls. So draw call here with these 3, draw call here, and draw calls there. No, I said that right. It was 9. Sorry, my bad. 9. Because we have the 10, the 2, and the 4. No, sorry. Snow is wrong. Sorry. Let me back that up. Damn it. I'm confusing myself because I'm trying to make sure I say this correctly. So we have 3 draw calls on here because the 3 different things. I'm thinking because I have these all lined out, but these 3 are identical. However, they have 3 different materials, but we're only technically, we have 3 draw calls. Sorry about that. I don't want to confuse you and wrap your head up. So 3 draw calls. Okay, now these draw calls are adding to the scene because our camera has to draw all this, or our GPU has to draw all these materials. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click here, hit play from here, because I'm going to show you the tool on how to bring up draw calls. Okay, and this is what's going to be interesting, and hopefully this will give you an idea of what's going on. Okay, so Snow, what's draw calls? Well, I'm about to show you what draw calls is and how you can bring up a tool to help you reduce your draw calls and make sure you're within the window of draw calls, because you don't want to go out the window, bog down the scene, and have a complete nightmare on your hand and have a headache of like, oh my god, I built a map and I can't even play it. I'm stuttering. People are stuttering because you have a rainbow on your map of different textures and materials, and nobody can move around and enjoy it because they're stuttering. Okay, so I'm going to quickly show you what I mean by draw calls. And I'm going to hit escape here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and pull this apart because I don't need this now. And I want you to be able to see the scene here. Okay, so look at that. And because of my camera, I can't really get too close unless I zoom in on my character. Okay, and I'm having issues because my character keeps coming in bugged, and sometimes you'll notice this, your character will come in looking like this. So I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to hit admin panel real quick because I'm not able to zoom in yet. So let me get a piece of gear here, a lance. Okay, escape, go to my inventory. Okay, and hopefully she will equip this. Alright. Oh yeah, it's bugged. I can't even equip it, so I'm bugged right now. Sadly, it happens occasionally, and it's usually if you start over, it'll correct itself. Alright, so you really can't tell from this distance with the camera the quality of the 1024, the 2048 texture, or the 4096 texture, the 4K. You really can't tell. Okay? I mean, seriously, you can't really tell from this distance of the camera, but this is just to show you what we're dealing with, okay? For as far as quality, and why it would be cheaper to use 1048, you get more mod size, or if you want to bump it up for walls and things that where players are going to get really close to, or weapons, then yeah, you could use the 2048, but 4K is like, it's out the ballpark. You don't want to use it for your mod unless you're planning to split your mod apart into 1,000 pieces. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea of what the difference is in textures, okay? To help you understand that. Now, let's get back into draw calls. So if you hit the tilde key, which is the little key, little squiggly thing next to your one key, you notice that there's this here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say stat space RHI, and these are commands. You hit the command. Now notice that I have draw primitive calls, 964 right now it's sitting at. What you want to do, okay, and I'm just going to hit enter here. What you want to do is make sure you keep that number as low as possible. Now look at how I'm looking at the scene. I want you to see how it's like about almost 1,000. It's fluctuating between 984 to 1,000 roughly. Okay. Now watch what happens when I turn my character in the camera. Notice how the camera is fluctuating. Okay, now as we look back to an empty area above the ocean, look at what we're drawing now. We're at 400, 300. See, it's cheaper because why? There's nothing out here but water and the sand texture. Okay, so that's what draw calls are. So if we go back and we look, holy crap, we're at 800, almost 900. And notice if we look at these guys on the ground, look at our draw calls. Alright, we're looking at the ground right now, and we're at 800, and we're drawing these materials and the materials from these plants. That's what we're seeing. Alright, and if we take and go this way and we look at the water with those in the scene, look at how they're sitting now. 500, because we're drawing those three different materials, the sand, the materials off those little green plants in our window, in our coral. Now if we turn this way away from the coral, okay, and we try to keep from drawing any more materials, look at that. Okay, now to remove this, we type, or we can hit enter, or hit our tilde key again, hit shift and up arrow, it will bring back what you typed before, and just hit that, and it'll turn it off. Now, another nice one to have is stat, S-T-A-T, space, FPS, stat frame rates per second. Notice our frame rates are at 86 frame rates per second up there in the right-hand corner in green. And when I turn back here and I look over here, we will hit about 70. We kind of fluctuate 70, 80, 70, 80 sometimes. Our frame rates are 12 to 11 milliseconds. We turn this way, 12 to 11 milliseconds. We're hitting about almost 80, 90-ish. Okay, so frame rates take a little bit of a hit. So fluctuate 12, 11. Go back here. We're at 11 steady. See how frame rates are affected? And then as we go back to the scene, it's about 11, 12-ish. It keeps popping back and forth because it's putting an increase on our frame rates. Okay, so let me go ahead and hit Shift Escape. Now let's go in here and get close to our corals, and I'm going to show you the texture quality one more time so you can understand how this works. There's our 1024. This is our 2048, and this is our 4K. Okay, so notice the difference in the quality between these two. It's a little better. It's a little bit more bumpier. It's still glossy, but notice a little bit of change. It's a little bit better in quality, but not by much. Okay, but it's cheaper to run this one, so why would you want to run this one, especially if nobody's going to really get to see it from a distance? And then this one, you know, obviously trumps them all because it's got the better quality. And if we go up like this, you can kind of see a difference between all three. And I know it's kind of hard with the angles and the lighting, so I'm just going to kind of drag it this way and kind of get a better camera view and get as close as possible. So you can see, here's the lower one. Notice that this one's got a little bit more definition to it. Not much, but a little bit more. And then this one, the 4K, has a lot more definition as far as little dots and stuff on the surface of the coral. It's not as predominant in this one, etc. Okay, so that's the difference between 1024, 2048, and 4K textures. Okay, so this will help you understand what the difference in quality and how to save yourself mod space, etc. Okay, so we're at 33 minutes. This tutorial is going to be just a little bit longer because I said before we go, I was going to show you how to create custom foliage. Now, I want to be able to paint these guys down underwater, so here's what we're going to do. We go to our content browser, okay, and in my mod folder, go back to the main folder here, the Barachan Isles, all right, I'm going to right-click and create a new folder called Foliage. And I'm probably going to call it Foliage, but I'm going to try to type it correctly. F-O-L-I-A-G-E, foliage. Okay, and this is going to be the foliage folder. Now, what we want to do, I'm going to open up another content browser because this will make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to open up content browser 2. I'm going to go to my meshes, okay, my corals. Now, I'm not going to drag the 4K. I'm going to drag the 1048 ones, okay, or sorry, the 1024 ones, and I'm going to create them. So what I want to do is go to my foliage tool, all right, and I'm going to bring this up here just slightly. All right, and let me stretch this out so my foliage folder fits at the top. It's not going to, is it? Yeah, it is. There it is. Okay, good. All right, and I'm going to stretch this one out too, just like so. All right, now there's the foliage tool. All right, and what I want to make sure too, before I do that Windows levels, I want to make sure I'm in the correct level here. Okay, excellent. I'm going to hit save. All right, just in case we have a crash. All right, so now we're going to go to the foliage tool. We're going to open it back up. So now what I'm going to do is drag this all the way to the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I take my lower quality foliage, my corals, right? So the 3 different corals are right there. I dragged them. I'm going to drag them over here to the foliage tool, drop them here. All right. Now they're gonna load in here somewhere. So now we got to wait, and I got to look for them. Now they're going to get converted to an instance, and I forgot to cover instances, so I will cover that here as soon as we're done with the foliage tool. I do apologize, I got a little sidetracked because I want to make sure I hit the important things. Okay, so here's our foliages. Now, because these are going to be underwater, I really don't need collisions on them. However, I want to give them a minimum size of 0.7, because we can change ours because it's our custom foliage, but your Funcom's you can't change. And the max size, I'm going to give them a 1.7. So 0.7 minimum size and a max size of 1.7. So what that means is these will randomly size as you paste them down. And the scaling would be uniform. The density KU, I'm going to drop that down to like 25. And radius, I'm going to give them a radius of about 300. So that way they're more spaced out evenly, hopefully. The engine will do that correctly for us. Random yaw, we want to align to a normal. And random yaw is okay because we want them to kind of randomly twist, as they paste down, twist a little bit, etc. Now, we don't need collisions. However, if you need to have a tree with a collision, you can put collisions here. Collisions take up a little bit of memory and things like that, so remember that. Do I really need collisions on these? Not really, but let's go ahead. I'm going to put collisions on them. And we're going to just say block all, so nothing can swim through them, all right, except for particle effects. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save these. Now watch, I'm going to hit save. Uh-oh, we have a location for foliage asset. We're going to go to our Barachan Isles mod folder, or your mod folder's name. Go to that folder called foliage, and we're going to hit OK. And what this is going to do is it's going to save our foliage to that folder, and I'll show you here in a second. Because we're going to be able to need to use this when we go to paste more foliage down on different maps. We're going to need to be able to access this again. And I'm going to hit foliage. Okay. Now they're saved. So every time I change the settings to these corals now will be over here in my foliage tool or folder. So if I go to my mod folder, go to my foliage, now you see they turn green. Okay, so now I know they're a foliage type, and it says right there foliage type. Okay, so now we got our foliages down. All right, I'm going to go ahead and minimize that real quick. I'm going to go back to my select tool here. Now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these meshes real quick, because I don't need static meshes on the world now, because I'm done demonstrating what this is. All right. Oh, and also to turn off your, like I said, debug, the bugging mode or the dev tools, squiggly tool, you can do it from here without being in game. I can type STAT FPS, and I can turn it off right there. Okay, so you can do it in or out of active window. Okay, so now instance meshes. Now what's that mean? An instance mesh or instance material, getting back to our materials, so let me reopen this up and so I can explain this a little bit better and show you what I mean. All right, so back to our custom content, our corals, our materials. Notice that these right here, okay, are light in color. Now I'm going to right click and create a material instance for my 2Ks because I forgot to do that. Okay, and so what you can see here, what's the difference between the instance and the parent material? If you notice, there's not a whole lot of settings here except the emissive boost. We can boost the emissive so it glows a little bit more. It's got a little bit more of a glow to it. So some parameters that we can play with. But the parent material is the master material, which is this material here, which is the brighter green. The dimmer green is your instance. Now what's the difference? If you placed a bunch of these down onto a static mesh, you're going to make a draw call. So every time you put a mesh down with just this material in it, you're going to make a draw call for each mesh. If you place down 10 of them, you're going to have 10 draw calls. Now if you place an instance and you place down 10, you're only going to have one draw call. So what this does, this tells the graphics card, hey, guess what? You have thousands of these, but it only is using this one material, so just draw one call. So draw 1,000. You don't have to draw 1,000, just draw one, but I got 1,000. So it tells the video card, hey, dude, I have 1,000, But you only need to draw one material, man, because it's all the same and it's an instance. Now, if you put down, like I said, 10,000 or 1,000 of these on a static mesh, 1,000 meshes, and you put 1,000 of these 2Ks in there, the bright green, and it's not instance, you're going to draw 1,000 draw calls, okay? Because it's not being told, hey, there's 1,000, but there's only one material. No, it thinks that there's 10 or 1,000 materials. So what you want to tell the video card is, hey, I only got one. So by doing an instance, that way you have 1,000 meshes down, static meshes, it's only drawing one. So hopefully I explained that and it makes more sense. Okay. I usually use the visual here, but let me see here. Let me go up to environment real quick, and I'll just do a quick visual here for folks. If you're not quite getting it, go to buildings, go to meshes, and I'm just going to put this block down here. And what this does, like I said, this is a material here, so it's drawing all these different materials. And if we just do that master material, the parent material, the primary material, you're going to have two of these. Now you got two draw calls, okay? But because this is an instance material over here, right? So this is the instance of that. It says, oh, guess what? There's two of these, but there's only one of these. But if you use the parent material, the original instruction, it's going to draw two of them and says, hey, I got two of these, and I need to do two of these. Instead of, I got two of these, I only need one of these. You see what I'm saying? So hopefully that makes sense. So draw calls are very important because you can bog down a scene. And let me tell you, one of my team members from my indie studio who learned the hard way, I was trying to explain this to him, and he didn't quite get his head wrapped around it. And he ended up using the main material, and I forgot to. Let me show you really quickly the material. So the main material being the master or the instructions looks like this. So this is the instruction, but the instance is this. Okay, this is all you should see on the instance, is this material. All right, you shouldn't see all the instructions, so you know this is an instance, and it also says INST for you to help you understand it's the instance. So you want to make sure, so like on my static meshes, when I open those up, which I kind of screwed up now because now I can't open it. So on my static meshes, let me go down here to my static meshes under my corals. Right, there we go. Now it popped in. Great, now my window's working. So you want to make sure the instance is assigned to the mesh. Okay, see it says INST up here. All right, just so you know, use the instance of the material so you're not drawing a crap ton of materials on your screen and causing your map to be low performance and causing frame rate loss and really making a lot of people upset and angry. Okay? So hopefully I explained that well and you understand that. So that's the difference between materials, textures, etc. So really, I think I kind of covered that in detail. Remember, GIMP is a good program to use. You can use other programs to resize imagery. Just remember that, okay? I think I kind of covered all the bases. Oh, and before we go, I wanted to show you quickly. So Shift, and let me Shift here. Select all, unselect, Shift again. Highlight them all, uncheck it so they're all unselected. Then I'm going to go through here and find my 3 different corals really quickly. I'm going to take my paintbrush and paint them down. And they might paint down gray at first, is because the material has to draw shaders. Once the shaders are cached, there you have it. And oops, and I go back to my select. I hit play from here. Now when I walk up to these, I should run into them or kind of get snagged into them because I put a collision on them. So hopefully this will play. And notice that when I run on top of them, I kind of hop up because they got a collision and I kind of get stuck against it. So yeah, I kind of get snagged up on them. See, she bumped into it. So when we're underwater, you might run into them and get snagged up. See, so it really depends on what you need to have collisions. Like these, you wouldn't want to have little collisions on these little grass plants and they move. But for coral technically should block you because they are hard, they're stiff, and if you've ever been scuba diving or diving on a beach, you've ever touched coral, you know it's kind of like a rocky substance. It's kind of hard, but they also can be kind of brittle too, depending on what type of coral that you're messing with. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. There's our custom foliage there. Okay, so with that being said, all right, let me go ahead and head back over and show you my ugly mug. And let me see here. All right, transition back over. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. If it don't, like I said, leave some comments in the video posting or in the community chat. There is a community chat where y'all can chat to me on Patreon. Also, I have the Discord channel. If you're not part of the Discord channel, hop into Discord. I do have the custom map tutorial channel. I will make these corals available for you, just these corals. I can't make everything available for you because I don't want to violate anything, but you can use these in a mod. You can't make people pay money for them or anything like that, but they're licensed in an Unreal product. So this is being Conan's Unreal product. I can use these and hand these out to you to use in your mods, but yeah, because you're not licensed to sell these to anybody else. Unless you actually purchase these. If you purchase these corals, then you can hand them out to yourself and to me back and forth because we both own the product and we both have the licenses. It's really neat how the marketplace works as far as licensing these sorts of things. But if you don't have a license, technically you're not supposed to have these. However, because it's going into an Unreal product, being the Conan Exiles modding, and you're not going to charge people and sell your mod because you can't, because Funcom would look down upon you going, So you can have these to use. I'll make sure that you guys get these 3 corals to use in your mod if you like. You don't have to. It's up to you. All right. Like I said, leave any tension or leave any comments or anything, attention to detail I might need to do. If you're lost, let me know. Hopefully this has explained a lot to you as far as performance, how to use custom materials and textures, how to reduce the texture down. Remember, I'll bring this up real quick again. Remember your file sizes, you know, things like that for your materials real quick. Like I said, I'll bring this up one more time just so you can see it. And remember, your file sizes might determine, 32 megabytes is roughly for 4 textures. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right. Just, think about those things to help keep your mod from being bloated or heavy and full of stuff. Okay. All right. With that being said, I think we'll go ahead and stop here. We're at 48 minutes, so I don't want to take any much more of your time. Like I said, hopefully you understand this. It made sense. Let me know in the comments. I just want to make sure that I'm doing this tutorial series really well and your guys are learning and you're getting your heads wrapped around some of the technical art, what goes in. I mean, it's a lot to remember. So when I do this, it's like I'm trying to remember all these steps and keep this all up here and make sure I do it correctly, because it's a lot. You have to think, if you're building a map by yourself, you're doing the work of about 20 different people in a computer game development studio. Okay, because you have your technical artists who work on the technical side, who build the materials. Then you got your artist who does the textures, and they might actually build and do textures. I mean, it's a lot. And you got your 3D modeler who does the modeling. I mean, just one person alone does all the armor for Conan. I believe it's a female, a gal there in Norway, who does all their armor. So she's doing those different armor types. I don't think there's anybody else that does the armor, and she's doing it on her own. And probably with the help of some technical artists, if she needs anything to correct anything, make anything look bad or good. Sorry. So anyway, I digress. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but like I said, hopefully everything's making sense to you. Hopefully you're enjoying this series. Let me know. Landscape materials are kind of the same concept. The only thing is they're a little different from the material that Funcom uses. They use what they call atlasing. And then you have auto landscape, which when you paint, you see the different variations of sand and how it transfers and how you get elevation and it changes color with height and depth. That's called atlasing and auto landscaping. But most Unreal Engine materials are paint down, and they don't do that cool thing where they change as an elevation or lower. That's a requirement, and that's programmed in through the material, which is a much more complex thing. I'll think about doing something on that, but that's a lot. But we'll get to some landscape materials. I'll show you a little bit of that maybe later on. But I don't want to overwhelm you with too much technical stuff. So we'll continue on with the series. We'll get the island area ready to go. So we'll place some static meshes and start doing some art to help you get the immersion right and etc. All right. Let me get out of here and get out of your face and let you get back to doing whatever you got to do. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your guys' support. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Take care.